that I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was missing.
Welcome to the American Idiots Podcast, the show where we take the most divisive headlines and put them to the debate with our diverse group of hosts. Join us as we leave no story uncovered and spare no politician. What's up, everybody? Welcome into another fantastic episode of the American Idiots. I am Money Mike. I'm going to be joined shortly by my co-host, Manic Hispanic, as well as we will have Rich on pretty quickly as well. He's dealing with some internet issues tonight. Of course, want to let you know, if you are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to us as well. And share the video with your friends there on Facebook. As speaking of Facebook, definitely make sure to like the page. Go over to YouTube and do the same if you can, please. We would greatly appreciate it. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on a very tired Manny Hispanic. Manny, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Like you said, tired. It's been a rough week. It started last Monday. And it seems like I've been up and going with very little rest since then.
Hey, I certainly feel that, man.
On the plus side, you know, we had 48 paid tickets at our gate for our wrestling event. So
nice.
So that was good. And I actually spilled the beans that in the near future, we will have Al Snow.
I did see that.
Grace our presence.
I did see that. That's pretty awesome. Is he coming in doing a seminar, or is he just?
Yes. Actually, he's going to do. We're calling it an eat and greet at the Ohio Club for 10 people, and then he's doing the seminar for wrestlers Saturday morning, and then we're doing meet and greet before the event Saturday night. And I'm not giving dates yet. You know, people have to pop in.
Right on. Well, who knows? Maybe we can work something out, and we can give away some. Maybe we can give away some stuff here on the American Idiots show to try to hype that up a little bit.
But for other information, y'all can check out SouthCentralWrestling.com, South Central Wrestling on Facebook, SCW Arkansas on YouTube. I post shows. I call it SCW Rewind. Roughly 2 weeks after the event is the first half, and 2 weeks after that is the second half.
Absolutely. Make sure to go over and like the SCW. Is it SCW or South Central Wrestling on YouTube?
SCW Arkansas on YouTube.
SCW Arkansas on YouTube. Go ahead and go give them a like, subscribe to their content, and leave them a good comment. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring on the third and fourth members of our panel. We kind of got a special guest here at the last minute. Pretty excited about this one. We have Mad Hawk and Nessa. Nessa, frequent commenter. Very excited to have you join us tonight.
Well, thank you. Glad to be here. I was waiting for her to start off.
Hey, y'all don't talk at once.
Yeah, hold on.
Right.
Now. You can't be
everybody.
shy, Nessa.
Welcome to Who Keeps Mad Hawk Moving Day to Day, and that is my wife Vanessa. So she'd like to join in and share the female perspective tonight. You'll have to forgive us. We are joining via mobile device tonight because we still have not gotten the internet quite hooked up in the new studios yet, but it is coming together nicely here.
You know, I'll tell you this much though. Even though you're running off the phone data, it's a little glitchy, but it's actually not too terrible as far as the screen And, worst case scenario, we can hear you crystal clear. So everything's looking fantastic. Matt Hawk, we're definitely going to have some fun tonight because me and you were kind of having a little debate. So I can't wait to get to that part of our first topic.
I was going to say, y'all.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, y'all make it so hard not to just get into the argument backstage sometimes.
That's been one of my biggest complaints with our message board is save it for the show so we get that real emotion.
Yes, I can't wait. I can't wait to get in there and get it with you. Now, I do have to ask.
If you spit out something and then I counter it and you're like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Then when we get to the live show like we are now, you will never bring it up because it's already been countered, but the fans didn't get to see that.
Right.
Or that one person in Tucker, Max, didn't get to see it.
Now, Matt Hawk, I already asked Manny Hispanic. He said he hasn't seen it. Have you seen the new angle of the Micaiah Bryant situation? You have seen it?
I did. I actually watched when you shared that video backstage. I did check it before we came on and watched it a little bit. And we're ready.
Okay.
We're ready.
Okay. Definitely. Well, let's get into it real quick. Let's start off with the big news that happened, and that was the Chauvin verdict. And we actually have a story from CBC News on it.
State of Minnesota, County of Hennepin, District Court, 4th Judicial District. State of Minnesota plaintiff versus Derek Michael Chauvin, defendant. Verdict, count 1. Court file number 27, CR 20-12646. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 1, unintentional second-degree murder while committing a felony, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:44 p.m. Signed, juror foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 2. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 2, third-degree murder, perpetrating an eminently dangerous act, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m. Signed by jury foreperson, juror number 19. Same caption, verdict count 3. We, the jury, in the above entitled matter as to count 3, second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, find the defendant guilty. This verdict agreed to this 20th day of April 2021 at 1:45 p.m.
So you saw he was convicted on all three counts that he was charged with. I'm amped about it, but I don't quite understand it. So you're telling me we got him on third-degree murder, then we got him on negligent homicide, but then we also got him on manslaughter, which means you didn't actually intend to kill him. So how do you not intend to kill somebody, but you intend to kill somebody? I don't know that I quite understand how they got him on all three counts.
I think what they're saying is basically it was negligent homicide on the point that he basically before killing him, he didn't pull him. Let's get this right. He didn't pull over George Floyd and he didn't wake up in the morning and say, "Hey, I'm gonna go put on my uniform. I'm gonna go pull over George Floyd. I'm gonna kneel on his neck for 9.5 minutes." That would take away the negligent homicide.
Right.
So I think where it comes into place is basically like he didn't have intent to kill him up until that point that he actually killed him. But after that point, he also didn't do the necessary steps to reverse the fact that he killed him.
Absolutely. That makes sense. That absolutely makes sense. I think Manny Hispani is changing his light bulb to get a little bit more light for him. That's exactly what he's doing. Nessa, what did you think when you saw the verdict come back?
I was thrilled about the verdict, but back to the manslaughter thing that you guys were talking about. I watched a special about the whole thing on, I think it was like 2020 or 60 Minutes or something like that. But Chauvin and George Floyd actually used to work at the same place before this incident.
I had heard that. The other thing, the other news that I think came from the same story you're referring to, Nessa, is that this isn't the first time George Floyd has done it. It's just the first time that George actually killed somebody, or Chauvin, excuse me. It's just the first time Chauvin actually killed somebody. That shows a pattern, and I'm interested. So sentencing is in 8 weeks, he said. He went on to say sentencing is in 8 weeks. Do you expect them to make an example out of Chauvin and give him the max? What, I think they said 42 years on all 3 counts?
I think the first 2 were like 12 years each, and the last one was 4 or something like that.
So that
But,
would
yeah,
roughly be about 30, yeah. Still, he wouldn't see the light of day.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely give him the max. And he had, back to this was the first time he had done it, he had 17 complaints as far as his like use of force and stuff like that goes.
Wow, that's crazy that he was still. And once again, I mean, that goes back to the same thing that, we've talked about multiple times in referring to this case, is that it's nice to see that this is finally breaking down with the, cone of silence, so to speak, or the thin blue line. It's nice to see that that's finally breaking down when people are, actually legitimately doing wrong. People are starting. But, I mean, you're talking about you had 17 occasions to take care of this beforehand, and nobody would have died. So, I mean, that part kind of sucks for sure. Matt Hawk, where are you? Do you think he's going to get the max? Or do you think they're going to be lenient?
I would hope that it gets the max. I really would. And I think that if they're going to, if they want to continue sending the message that they've already started sending, that, you know what, we are going to take these things serious, like police are going to be found guilty. This isn't the good old boy justice system anymore where your buddy covers for your buddy. I think if they want to stick with that message and continue gaining the trust of the public, especially the African-American public, they need to go ahead and go with the message. He deserves it. If anybody deserves it, he definitely does.
So while we're allowing Manny to do what he needs to do here, I do want to ask you guys, do you think that this is – Manny, actually, also, I do want to point that out. He did get the next episode of or the next comic of the Star Trek Audacious that we're working on with our Sci-Fi Visions counterparts over there. So definitely pretty excited about seeing that. But I wanted to ask you, do you think this is the start, or do you think this is the justice we were looking for? I'll be honest, I think it's a start. I think we still have some work to do, though.
I would agree with that. I think it's the start for sure. I think that we need to be careful what exact road this goes down, because now that we have found justice for one, it does open up that door for, is this going to be an all the time thing? Every time somebody gets pulled over and feels like they're done wrong by the cops, we're going to see a video on the news about it. And everybody's going to have the topic and discuss it. I mean, are we just going to have like a weekly, here's how your police force fucked up this week?
I mean, and when I first saw the Bryant footage that we'll get to in just a moment, the initial body cam footage, I was like, oh man, y'all are starting to, this is what I was worried about. Y'all are starting to get a little quick to pull the trigger on having issues. Right. Now that I've seen this second angle, my feelings have changed a hair bit. Trust me, I'm not going after prosecution, but we'll get into that in just a moment. I do see that as potentially a problem, and that kind of does bother me, because in some instances, and me and Manny last week actually talked about the 13-year-old Daniel Toledo. In some instances, there's a gray area. Manny actually ended up, I thought there was a gray area in that situation, and Manny ended up actually telling me that there was no gray area, that cop should have never fired that shot, and he explained why. And, I found out that, yeah, that is a problem that happened. Manny, are you good? You ready?
I'm good.
Okay, cool. What do you think about this? We'll start off with, what he said. Do you think we're working now towards seeing a weekly, here's where the police fucked up, let's interpret everything that they did wrong in this situation?
I don't think it'll be a weekly thing, but I think it's going to be along those lines. Anytime there is a video footage of anything, I think people are going to try to present it. But I mean, people have been presenting things for a while. One of the YouTube channels that I subscribe to and watch quite often is called Audit the Audit. And they take police camera footage and basically dissect it, tell you what was done right, what was done wrong. And I mean, cops have been messing up for a long time.
Absolutely. I mean, let's be honest. This accountability piece, as far as video and cops, has been around at least since Rodney King, and probably was it around before that? I was really young during Rodney King.
Well, they didn't do the body cams before then, so no, it really wasn't. So it was he said, she said. Who you going to take the word of? The person that is an offender or a police officer? So they have always, been able to kind of slide under the radar, so to speak, with their actions. But like I said, even whenever evidence was presented, what we talked last week about the
Toledo
girl that was shot. No, before Toledo, the Ayana, who was shot, and
yes.
The trial ended. Where'd you go, Mike? Come back. Oh, there you are. The trial ended in a. You disappeared for a minute, dude. I thought you just didn't want to hear the truth I was spitting. The trial wound up ended in a mistrial, and they dropped one of the charges and tried him again with just one charge, which was a lesser charge, and that ended in a mistrial, and then everything got swept under the rug, and nothing was ever said about it.
So I do want to ask you, before we move on to what happened later on, the same day the Chauvin verdict was read. Actually, they said it happened simultaneously. Before we move on to that, though, I do want to ask you the two questions I asked Nessa and Mad Hawk. Do you think this is just the beginning of justice, or is this the justice we're looking for? And are you looking for the max whenever they announce the sentence?
I definitely think there needs to be a maximum sentence on that. I hesitate to say this is justice yet until we see what the sentencing is. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, here's justice, here's justice." Well, if he only gets 2 years, is that really justice?
True.
I mean, I'm waiting until actual sentencing to start saying, okay, some justice was served there.
Were you surprised that they got him on all three?
Yes, honestly, I was. I was thinking that part of that buddy system, that they were going to try to take the lesser of all of them. However, Maxine Waters saying what she said.
Oh, my goodness.
That's probably my idiot of the week right there.
Yeah, Maxine, I need you to chill out now. To actually call out and say to cause problems if they don't come back with the right verdict.
My sleepy brain is catching up to me. If they don't come with the right verdict to continue to disrupt everything, that's some problem right there. You can't have politicians saying that stuff.
Exactly.
And I'd really like to know when they're going to try and bring up and start charging her with inciting a riot based on what she said and based on what they went after Trump. She should qualify.
That's a very good point. This isn't a quid pro quo situation. This is 100% hypocrisy, and it does need to be addressed. I don't know if anyone has addressed it formally yet, but it does need to be addressed. Somebody at least needs to sit Maxine down and be like, yo, your Twitter account's taken away for a while because I'm going to need you to shut the hell up because this is.
I tell you, another issue I have is, thank you, my love. My wife just brought me a chicken salad.
Ooh, that looked good.
So the more videos you show tonight, the better it'll be for me.
I got you.
That's when I eat, so that you don't catch me with food in my mouth, yo. No, the other issue that I have is who's the old woman in the Senate?
Are you talking about Nancy?
Nancy Pelosi?
Nancy Pelosi, yeah, that's her.
He really is tired if he can't remember Nancy.
The old female woman.
Nancy
Oh,
Pelosi saying that Floyd was the picture of justice. I've got a serious problem with that. He's got a rap sheet a mile long.
So yeah,
That is not the picture of justice.
George is definitely not the poster boy that I think that he's been made out to be.
but
you know, do I think that
situation he is?
Yeah, true. Situationally,
I mean,
absolutely.
I understand, like, he's got a rap sheet a mile long, and he's, was suspected of guns and everything, but in the face of justice, in this exact instance of this not even year-long, month-long, but multiple decade-long of, how African Americans and minorities in general feel like they are mistreated by the police force on purpose. To those groups, this is the picture of justice. This is what they've been screaming about that's been happening to them forever, and now they're finally seeing at least one person go down for the crimes they committed.
Yeah, and in the narrow scope, I can see your point, Matt Hawk, especially just looking specifically at this case. Yes. Do I think George Floyd's going to be in the history books? Absolutely. Should George Floyd be in the history books? Absolutely. Do I think that, what I hope we're going to leave out on George is George's past.
And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I mean,
really,
he had a past.
Bottom line, past, but what does it have to do necessarily with this situation?
That I don't see him as the picture of justice.
Okay. We may have to agree to disagree.
Chauvin should have the book thrown at him. In my opinion, he murdered a man. Bottom line. Absolutely. They can talk about how he was resisting arrest before and he was doing everything. Okay, you were on his back for 9 minutes and he was not resisting arrest. That's murder.
Absolutely.
So I'm not condoning any of that. I'm just saying to look at somebody that has a rap sheet that long and say, oh, this is the picture of justice. I think we're putting them a little high on a pedestal.
Well, and there's quite a few
because police officers have started to say, I don't want any part of that.
There's quite a few names on that list, and the names of the list of minorities that have been killed by police that should probably come before George. Breonna Taylor's of the world.
The gentleman that was shot that said he was concealed carry, had a permit to conceal carry, and the police officer told him, okay, I still need your wallet, and when he goes to reach for his wallet, he gets shot. He didn't have any kind of record.
I saw this
to have a concealed carry license. You can't have a record.
I saw this plenty on my Facebook timeline after the Chauvin verdict was read, saying, hey, now's not the time to calm down. We still need justice for Breonna. We still need justice for that gentleman. And that's something that I hope, people keep working towards, and people keep this vigorous. I would
love to see him go back and the attorney general start pulling up like the Ayanna case.
I think the attorney
who was
general,
the guy in Little Rock that was shot because his apartment door was open, and police went by, tried to talk to him. He ignored them, so then they entered for no reason, had no warrant. They just thought it was weird that a guy had his door open. Jeez.
Actually, I saw something earlier. That actually rang a little bit true to me. It said, if you're out here saying, hey, we have the right to bear arms, but a police person can shoot you just for exercising that right to bear arms, do you really have the right to bear arms?
Yeah.
That'll make you think for a minute. That'll make you think.
I mean, like that gentleman, the police shot him because he had a gun. But the police came into his apartment with no warrant, unannounced,
illegally,
not invited, and that's why he pulled his gun.
And I'm sure they could have. I'm sure they probably. Oh, it was a welfare check or something. BS.
So they need to go back and get them for that.
So
it was an off-duty officer at that was supposedly doing security.
No shit. Jesus Christ. So verdict, the post verdict joy was kind of short lived as it quickly broke that a 16-year-old girl was gunned down by a policeman in Ohio. I think the way to pronounce her name is Micaiah Bryant. I could be wrong. If I am, I apologize. But we have a story on this with a different angle. Hopefully they'll show the body cam too, but a different angle for our viewing here on this ABC News article.
We turn now to yet another police-involved killing. 16-year-old Micaiah Bryant shot dead by Columbus, Ohio police officer Nicholas Reardon. Tonight, investigators are examining police-worn body camera footage as well as video taken from a neighbor's security camera showing Micaiah appearing to hold a knife and then lunging at someone wearing pink. Officer Reardon fires a burst of deadly shots. We're joined now by ABC's Trevor Ault. Thanks so much for joining us, Trevor. What's the latest on the investigation into Micaiah's death?
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. Today we got a few different, more well-rounded views of what happened in this shooting. One of them, that surveillance footage from the neighbor across the street. He was a witness only in hearing the shots, but his security cameras captured the incident as it unfolded. And another video was released by the city police, and those are the dash cam videos from the officers as they arrived on scene. And it is worth noting, Lindsay, that there wasn't a lot of new information revealed by these new videos because the city and the police department took that unprecedented step to release some of the body camera footage within just a few hours after this fatal shooting. And so we have a fairly good understanding of what was seen there as this was playing out, as Micaiah Bryant is seen on that video with a knife in her hand, appearing to lunge at another young girl. And that's when the officer, Nicholas Reardon, opens fire, fires 4 shots. An officer tried to perform CPR, and then she later died at the hospital. The city says they are committed to transparency, they are committed to accountability, and they're going to continue to keep the public informed. For now, though, it seems we've got our hands on those videos. We have a general idea of what happened, but the investigation is going to play out separately to determine whether or not this shooting was justified, Lindsay.
It does seem like there's a real attempt at transparency here, Trevor. What are police saying, though, at this point as far as an explanation?
Well, as part of that police accountability, Lindsay, right now there's very little that the Division of Police can say in regards to this specific shooting. That's because this investigation is being carried out independently by the Bureau of Criminal Investigation, which is an agency under the state attorney general. So at least so far, there are not a lot of committed answers that the interim police chief could give us about even who called 911 or what started this entire altercation. However, the most pertinent fact and the most pertinent statement likely that the interim chief of police was able to say is in regards to department policy. And that is, if there is a presence of a deadly threat, either toward an officer or toward a third party, that officer is authorized to fire their weapon and they are authorized to use deadly force. Now, it's going to be up to the BCI to determine whether or not that was in fact the case here. It does appear on the video that Micaiah Bryant had that knife, was lunging at another girl, and could possibly have been considered a lethal threat, but that will be up to those independent investigators to decide.
Yeah, still a lot to get into there in that city. Trevor, our thanks to you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephan.
Okay, so we got Matt Hawk and Nessa working their way back in. I think they were having some technical difficulties. Here they are. So I'm going to start off here by saying this. Was the actual part of the shoot where the shooting occurred justified? In my mind, yes. Should it have gotten to that point? Absolutely not. She was within arm's reach, could have easily been grabbed and taken to the ground, or cuffed, or hell tased, and this would have never happened. I'm not saying that this officer needs to be arrested. I'm not saying that this is as cut and dry as Derek Chauvin for me. But I will say this. The officer needs to be let go. That is where I see justice in this case. In this particular case, the officer needs to be let go. Manny, we'll start with you.
I disagree. From the time he arrives to the time he shoots, do we know how many seconds that was?
It was
16.
probably, so looking at the security footage and looking at his footage, we're probably talking 15 to 30 seconds.
All right, so he gets there, he talks to the lady in the pink and actually asks her what's going on. At that point, the woman who was shot and the other lady come forward in that falling motion. My first question right there is, the woman that was falling with the person with the knife, did she get stabbed?
I'm not sure.
She
but
had that
point,
knife with her whenever she was going after that girl.
No.
That's when I think he should have grabbed her. That's where I say he should have grabbed her.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think he realized what was going on, because you don't really see a knife at that point. So he talks to the lady in the pink, asks her what's going on, sees them two fall, and then he goes like he's going to check on the woman that fell. And then when that camera comes back up, you see the girl going after the lady in the pink.
So my first question, though, and I've seen this numerous times on like the ride-along shows like Cops and Live PD, so on and so forth. Isn't your job initially to just stop the conflict to begin with when you arrive on scene and separate the parties? Why wasn't that done?
Because he just got there. He didn't have time to separate. His first question was, what's going on? And then the action is commencing.
So don't you jump into action immediately and grab the aggressor? And literally, I'm asking.
If you're not used to it, probably not. And we've talked at length about the training, the lack of training that these officers have. I mean, they're not like trained for wartime scenarios, and that is almost a wartime scenario.
Okay. So completely justified in your opinion.
In my opinion, yes.
Okay. Matt Hawk, where are you on this one? I know me and you were kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, I was about to say, I know you and I both come from have a history of announcing and wrestling events. Do we need the Manic to pull out the bell and standing in at 80 words per minute? We can go a few rounds on this. No,
I don't know if we'll do 80 words per minute, but we definitely need to measure the beards.
His beard is more.
There you go.
Fine, I'll say that.
Thickness of glasses and stuff.
I might win the glasses. His beard's better, though. I'll admit, his beard's better.
There we go. I get I'm actually waiting to grow it out. I think I'm going to do the ponytail with some like Viking beads in it or something.
Ooh, fancy.
Getting back to the topic at hand, though, I do disagree with you. Like Manic said, and I didn't even know that until, which even more solidifies my thought. 16 seconds is nothing. And the fact is, the person, the girl, and forgive me, what was her name? Taylor? Micaiah. When it shows it right there in the video, she has the knife back. She is lunging at this person to stab them. At that point, he pulled out his gun and shot her. I can't say I would have done the same thing. And honestly, I told you this in the chat.
And at that point, I don't disagree. But should it have?
And if he did lunge at her, who's not to say that him going into her then even causes her to stab the person even more? Now everybody's looking at him going, "Why didn't you just shoot her? You caused her to kill him."
Well, and that's, and Smith, Shannon Sharp on, we actually covered this Saturday on our new Natural State Sports podcast. Shannon Sharp said, it does look like a situation where it's kind of, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So, I mean, yes, I can.
Do with sports. Why were you covering this on a sports podcast?
Because of the LeBron James tweet afterwards.
Oh. I was just trying to figure out if y'all was looking at her form and technique as she's swinging the knife.
But no,
let me interrupt you for just a quick second, and I just want to see something here. So here's the situation coming up in 3, 2, 1. I'm coming at you with a gun right now. I'm pulling my gun out to shoot you. What are you gonna do? What's your first thought, Money Mike? You got 5 seconds to make a choice.
5 seconds.
4, 3, 2, 1. It's been 15 seconds. You couldn't even come up with a choice.
You're right. So like I said, though, I look at this video in 2 parts. I look at the first part, the girl falling. My thought is, why isn't he trained at least his instinct to say, grab the aggressor? Grab the aggressor, neutralize the threat. The second part is where
hold on. If we're going to take this by parts, let me speak on that first part. While the body cam was facing one way, you have no idea which way his head was turned.
Well, that's where the security camera footage looks.
Right,
That's
right. But no, we're talking about why didn't the officer grab her? Why didn't the officer do something? He may not have been looking there.
True.
He may have been looking at that lady in the pink that he was talking to and happened to catch out of the corner of his eye somebody falling.
And didn't have enough time to react.
Not really realizing what was going on, right. So then he averts his attention from looking over here to looking over here. What's going on?
And he
Trying to
sees
determine.
this.
And then when he looks back the other way, he sees somebody with a knife.
My thing is, if the second half was the only half we got, and that was the only part that happened, he rolls up on the situation and she's there already at the stab, then yes, I would completely say justified. I still feel like, though, that there was an opportunity for him to – there was an opportunity for this not to have turned out the way it did, I think.
But if we're going to take that, if
And I
he did
disagree.
grab her and spin her around, let's say, okay, so she has her hand like this.
No.
She's ready
This
to
is
come
when
around.
she's falling. When she's like this, that's when I'm saying he's justified. When
And that's
she
why I was
fell
asking if
is
that
where I'm
first
saying
lady that she fell with, I believe that she was stabbing that lady that she fell with.
And I couldn't tell that from either footage, but I do notice something new every time. I wonder if that dude, did you see that dude try to kick the girl?
Try to
that
kick
fell
the,
too?
yes.
I saw
Yes.
that shit. What the fuck? But no, like I said, I see something new. It is interesting. I want to know when she got the knife, because sometime between when the police call was made, because I'm assuming you guys know that Bryant was the one that made the call, saying, hey, they got a knife, they're trying to stab me. I want to know when between there and, her actually getting shot, when she actually managed to get the knife, because at some point she had to wrestle that knife away from whoever was trying to stab her too. That's actually interesting to me too.
So,
Was it when they
well, I
fell
know
she
that
grabbed
was
it?
early reports that Bryant was the one that called.
Mm-hmm.
Was she really the one that called?
That's
I
what's
haven't
been
seen-
reported.
I haven't seen anything confirming that, but I have seen something contradicting that. As in, I've
really?
heard a story, yes, I have heard a story that the other two girls were the ones that called and said that she was there to hurt them.
Now that's interesting. I haven't heard that. I have not heard that till tonight. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, they said that they haven't released that because there was a discrepancy and they don't know who called.
And I mean, let's be honest. In the grand scheme of things, does it matter who called? Probably not. But I think it would change his view.
I would say yes, it matters, because if they showed up to stab her, then she was just defending herself and he killed her.
But then you also get into the whole entire, it's so common, especially in any type of, I guess we'll file this under like a domestic dispute.
This was a brawl.
I mean, a brawl, but I'm
I
talking
mean,
about a call that would go out to like the police would be probably like respond to some domestic dispute. I'm thinking. I'm not a cop, obviously.
This
But
is going to sound
nonetheless,
shit.
What the point that I'm getting at is it's very common in these situations, especially with heated temper. Hey, I'm going to call the police on you. So then you call the police. They're trying to stab me. Well, no, I'm going to call the police on you and say you're trying to stab me. So then the cop gets, hey, now the other person's calling. So they don't know who's trying to stab anybody. They just know both people are saying the other person's trying to kill them.
Good point. Good point. That's actually interesting to think too. And Nessa, I hadn't thought about that. It could change the officer's perspective of who's the aggressor when he rolls up as well, which would lead him to ask the lady in the pink. And
that's what I was thinking. That's why I was saying, was it really her that called 911? Because it was almost like the officer went directly to the lady in the pink. So it makes me believe that the 911 dispatch sent him to someone in pink.
Now, going back to your point, Matt Hawk, you talking about it being a brawl. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This may sound terrible, but I was waiting to hear somebody yelling World Star over the video. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I've seen worse fights on World Star fight compilations. But
yeah, somebody yelled World Star, but it was after the shooting.
Oh, wait, they really did?
No.
That's shitty.
It was the officer. Yeah.
Pop,
pop, pop. World star.
Oh shit, we shouldn't be laughing about this. No, it really is though. It really is. No matter what, it is absolutely disappointing.
Another little side note here. Since the Chauvin thing, was it like 3 hours after this incident happened, they released footage?
I thought it was the next morning that they released the footage.
If that doesn't tell you how much already, like, police around the U.S. are already like, nope, let's get this out there so we don't, ugh.
And I will also say this, I absolutely applaud the police department that is working on this because they have been transparent as hell on this situation. I'll say as much, though, that does the body cam always become the be-all, end-all for me? Probably not. I am glad that I saw that second angle. I thought it opened up a little bit more, like you said, Manny. We don't know which way they're looking or anything like that as well. So I am glad that they're using more than just the body cam as well. But you're right.
But I wonder how much, and eventually when, with all the police cameras and everything being around, I do worry that eventually the good ones are going to say, you know what, it just ain't worth it anymore. It's not worth having to look over my shoulder and have everybody question every time I pull somebody over.
So you know what I hope, actually, the fantastic scenario in my mind for all of this is we get more officers like, and I can only use our local officers, like Officer, he's in North Little Rock, and now, of course, I'm blanking on his name. Tommy Norman, like Officer Norman, a guy that actually goes out in the community and tries to do good things for his constituents. I hope that that's what's going to happen with the good officers, is that they're going to continue and they're going to be the ones that eventually outshine these negative stories that are occurring. Because, best case scenario, we get all of these bastards that, harbor these types of resentment and or these feelings or what have you that lead them to have a hair trigger or what have you. Manny, you say fully justified. Matt Hawk, you say fully justified. Nessa, where are you on this? Are you on the fence?
Yeah, I have so many mixed feelings about it, like to the point where when I first saw it, I couldn't even speak on it because I just couldn't decide how I felt. But I mean, yeah, I think that he could have or should have taken other steps before shooting her to get her under control. But on the flip side of that coin, I have firsthand seen people be tased and rip out the taser and keep going.
Very true, especially with that adrenaline going. You never know what we could potentially what she could have potentially done. I mean, you want to say that she's a 16-year-old young lady and she probably would have went down like a ton of bricks, but who knows with that adrenaline hitting her what she would have been able to accomplish in that time. Let alone,
well, she obviously didn't care that a police car rolled up. Right. She obviously didn't care that a police officer was present.
That's a good point too.
That was my thing about the whole thing is like, if you, whatever the situation is, if you were not doing anything wrong, as in like you were defending yourself or you felt it was justified, then why didn't you stop when people who could help you came?
Well, and that's the thing, talking with my friend yesterday about this situation, his first question was, I want to know if he hit the siren whenever he first came up. I kind of want to know too, because if they hit the siren, I've seen plenty of videos where people are like, "Oh shit," and they at least pause for a second. Could he have potentially done something like that?
It's not normal to roll up with sirens and lights to a domestic dispute.
Right. But even just hit it as soon as you pop up to get that woo, so that they recognize, hey, the police are on scene. You might want to chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? But again, it all depends on mindset as well.
And we don't even know if she saw him.
Exactly. At that point, as angry as what she could have been, she may not have seen anything but those two girls. Who knows? Okay, so this next one, I think you guys are going to get to beat up on me a little bit because I've been the only one that has said that I'd be willing to take the vaccine. And of course, this was the last one. This was my hope. This was the one I said I wouldn't mind taking, was the Johnson & Johnson. And what the hell happens? The mofos kill somebody. We have a story from KGW News.
Friday's a big day when it comes to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. A committee that advises the CDC will meet to decide if a pause in place since April 13th should be lifted, modified, or extended. All signs point to it being lifted.
I doubt very seriously if they just cancel it. I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that there will likely be some sort of warning or restriction or risk assessment.
The initial pause came when a handful of women reported serious blood clots after receiving the J&J shot. On Thursday, we learned of an Oregon woman in her 50s who developed a serious blood clot in combination with very low platelets and died after her Johnson & Johnson shot.
I want to emphasize that at this time, we do not know whether the Oregon woman's death is related to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
If it turns out the woman's death is connected to the vaccine, Dr. Shimi Sharif of Oregon Health Authority says it's important to note how rare it is. Of the 7.5 million doses of J&J administered across the U.S., only 7 women have developed serious blood clots.
Additionally, we do have to note that not all of the cases did result in deaths. This is, as to our recognition, the second death reported so far since the investigation began.
If you're sitting at home right now worried about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine you got, chances are you're fine and outside the window of concern. But for peace of mind, Dr. Sharif says keep an eye out for these symptoms.
Severe and unusual headache outside of a general headache that headache sufferers usually experience, in addition to certain symptoms like shortness of breath, stroke-like symptoms, abdominal pain, or leg pain.
Useful information, seeing as the J&J vaccine pause may be lifted in the coming hours.
In all likelihood, the Oregon woman's death will come up at the Vaccine Advisory Committee meeting Friday. That's one of the reasons the Oregon Health Authority reported her death when it did. It wasn't to instill fear, it was all about transparency. OHA continues to encourage all Oregonians to book vaccine appointments when they become eligible, and that includes the J&J shot when it resumes. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
Okay, so I've got a couple thoughts on this. First one is the fact that the outcome of that CDC panel was that they were going to resume this J&J shots. They have to give them a warning that the blood clots could occur or even death. I don't know how to feel about that one. The second thought that I do have, though, is a good point that they did make. We're talking about 2 people out of 7.5 million, and they can't firmly link the shot to the reason why she died. So,
Mike, that's like saying all of Chauvin's victims didn't die.
But you're talking about
the police brutality didn't result in death.
We're talking about 1 in 7.5 million.
How many deaths he's had? He's been a cop for 20 years.
I mean, touche. I mean, shit. But no, 1 in 7.5 million. That's not a bad batting average. I will acquiesce. That's not a bad batting average. I don't necessarily like them coming to this quick of a decision, though, honestly. I feel like it was rushed to continue the vaccine and just say, hey, we're going to warn them. I feel like they could have taken more time.
Where does it make help me help you, Mike? Tell me where it makes sense to voluntarily take a shot that has now caused the death of somebody to protect you from a virus that has a 98.5 survivability chance.
Hold on. Let me respond. So you're talking about one person, like I said, in the 7.5 million. I will acquiesce. That's a hell of a fucking batting average, especially considering I want to stack that up against other vaccines and what
I
type
agree,
of.
but hey, I am
what type of
100%.
percentage?
I am 100% batting against getting COVID without the vaccine. That's a hell of a lot better of a batting average.
I mean, touche. But I want to see where it stacks up against other vaccines for real, though, as far as how often somebody develops serious side effects. It doesn't seem like it's gone to the point where it's out of norm. You're talking, I have a greater chance to get ran over stepping out of my house than developing a serious side effect from this vaccine right now.
Well, I don't feel like taking that kind of gamble. I don't care what the odds are.
You also have a greater chance of getting hit by a car walking outside of your house than you do of catching COVID.
Motherfucker, I caught COVID.
But my thing is, isn't this, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this the second time that this vaccine from this company has been paused?
I don't know. I thought Moderna was only paused before this.
Was it
Manny, have you heard of another J&J pause?
I thought it was the Johnson & Johnson that was paused earlier.
And all they did was slap a warning on it and continue it, and then it killed someone.
I thought it was
because
Moderna.
Of the blood clots initially.
Okay, maybe it is. I thought it was Moderna because they fudged their numbers. I could be wrong on that, though. I'll act.
Johnson & Johnson was the one that fudged your numbers.
Was it Johnson & Johnson that fudged their numbers? Maybe it's the Moderna vaccine I want. I don't know.
And
you
yet
were
we're
saying
still
that you were going to
talking
take
about,
the
we don't
Moderna.
even know which company fudged their numbers, and we're still talking about getting this vaccine.
Johnson & Johnson is the one that fudged their numbers.
Okay.
You were saying before that you wanted to get the Moderna. That was the only one you would get until I presented that it only is good for 6 months.
That one does bother me, but at the same time, I also look at it as we're probably going to end up with this as a flu shot type of situation. Which I guess
don't get the annual flu shot, so I won't be getting an annual COVID shot either.
I mean, true. I guess we should have kind of expected it to only last 6 months because we also knew that this wasn't ever going to fully go away either. So I guess we should have kind of expected it to be something where, hey, we got a new shot every year. But that's just something that I've thought about since we've talked about the 6 month thing. Is that we knew it wasn't ever going to completely go away. Anyway, does this change anything for you, Manny, as far as the Johnson & Johnson vaccine? Now that we know,
I wasn't going to take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, nor the Moderna, nor the whatever the other one was. I had no plans to take one in the first place, and this hasn't changed my mind.
What about you, Mad Hawk?
Well, Johnson & Johnson has made some fabulous products.
That also cause cancer.
They will. Well, I was going down that route, but they have some fabulous products that will soothe my baby's butt. But I ain't letting them inject anything in me. Don't they make like baby powder?
Talking about baby or Nesta baby?
No, I'm talking about the baby.
Okay.
No more
talking about soothing butts.
Hey, that's a different show. No, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to go and get vaccinated for a virus that has a 98.5% survivability rate. And number two, like I said again, I'm batting 1,000 against catching corona. Now, I understand you caught, man. I'm sorry. And hey, luckily, it wasn't as bad. And I get it's a real thing. I do. Yeah. But so is the flu. So is the cold. So is, losing a tooth. I mean, these are things that happen. And frankly, I was scared of corona when it first came out. And I was that person that was like, nope, definitely batten down the hatches. Listen, everybody, we're not going outside. Wear your masks. After a little while, I was like, all right, let's see what's going on out here. And I returned to work as a FedEx driver.
Well, and no, trust me. Do I think that we're right now? Do I think we've honestly beaten corona down to where it is a minor problem? Absolutely. I don't think we're anywhere near where we were 6 to 10 months ago. But, at this point with the vaccine for me, once again, it's one of those what could it hurt? Just fucking to get it over with type of things for me.
So you haven't gotten the vaccine?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, my wife has told me about 3 people that she works with. I'm sorry, 2 people she works with, and our daughter Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Second shot, they got sick.
Now,
Bad.
I do know that one. Lisa,
Bad
actually, who hosts Clear and Convincing, has gotten both shots. She did say on the show, she was like, I would probably, because it made her feel very lethargic. She said she would probably schedule it around a day where you didn't have to work or be productive, because you probably will end up feeling like crud. I think she said hers lasted like normal about 24 hours.
The third person that I was talking about, the second coworker of my wife's, said that he would rather get COVID again than take that shot.
Really? So he got that
sick. Shot. Yeah. He said it was bad.
I just don't like being sick. I'll tell you that much right now. So there ain't nothing that wants me to catch COVID again. I hate allergies. And trust me, these allergies this year ain't no damn joke either. We need a shot against allergies right now. Okay, so I think we hit everybody on the panel on this one. So we'll move on to the 2022 gubernatorial races. They're kind of getting the fire starting to crackle a little bit as we it seems like we just finished the presidential election and we're already running into midterms. And we have a story from KTLA 5 on Caitlyn Jenner, who is now running in the 2021 gubernatorial recall election. No, here's the shocking thing.
I give up. I'm done. Bye. I'm done.
She's running on the Republican ticket. So we'll look at this story.
Even more when I'm done.
Hi there, Lou and Glenn. Well, good afternoon. Republican Caitlyn Jenner is a former Olympian, as you mentioned, also a transgender activist. Now she says she's a compassionate disruptor running for governor in what's likely a recall race. Well, she took to Twitter. Take a look at your screen here. She was saying that she's making that huge announcement, which is historic, really, for the LGBTQ and transgender communities. She also says that this will be a very big move for the country, raising campaign funds as well. It says, quote, I am a proven winner and the only outsider who can put an end to Gavin Newsom's disastrous time as governor. Well, her campaign staff reportedly spoke to President Donald Trump's advisors before making this move. She initially supported the former president, but then withdrew her support in 2018 after his administration attacked transgender rights. Now, if she wins this race, the Olympian turned reality star would be the first transgender woman to be in California's top spot. Already, as we've been checking Twitter, there is a firestorm of controversy on social media as the Republican Party recently pushed dozens of proposed laws to reduce rights for transgender people from coast to coast. This fall, California will most likely have its second ever recall race after those fighting against Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom collected 2 million signatures just last month. Petitions are still being counted here in LA County, and many have been criticizing how Newsom handled the pandemic as well as other issues. But according to LA County records, Jenner did not vote in nearly 2/3 of elections since 2000. Although she's eligible, she cast a ballot only 9 times in the state's 26 elections, including the historic 2003 recall vote of former Democratic Governor Gray Davis. Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger won that race, as we know. Celebrities running for office, that's nothing new here in California, including Ronald Reagan. This time around, former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, former GOP Representative Doug Osei, and businessman John Cox are on the Republican ticket. Well, on Twitter, candidate John Cox said, quote, California's problems are so immense that it's going to take an experienced businessman to solve them, not another politician or celebrity. It's great to see Caitlyn Jenner enter the race and draw more attention to the need to recall Gavin Newsom. Well, back out here live, when it comes to the LGBTQ plus as well as transgender communities, there is a lot of controversy about Jenner putting in her name for the governor's race. A lot of folks are saying that this is very ironic. Some people on Twitter are saying this would be a hard pass for them. Now, others are saying that they are supportive and they think that Caitlyn Jenner is a good role model, saying good luck. Reporting live here in Hollywood, Gene Kang, back to you.
So we'll start with the California with the recall election, and then we'll move on to Arkansas and the others that are going to be coming here in the midterms. But my first thought on this is, number one, are you really sitting here like talk about irony and like going against your better, like what's better for you? She literally is running for a party that hasn't really supported the, what she does or what she identifies as, I guess I should say. I guess my first question is, we've seen Schwarzenegger do it. We saw Ronald do it. We saw Reagan do it back in the 80s or 70s, actually, for governor. Can Caitlyn shock the world?
I'm sorry. I'm busy looking up houses in Ireland on Zillow. I'm done with the U.S. No, I mean, I cannot believe it. No, I don't think there's any way that she can pull this off, especially running under the Republican ticket. That is complete irony. That's when you said that, I walked back in the room and I was like, even more reason why I'm done. Because if she actually wins on the Republican ticket, she's a bigger miracle than Jesus.
I mean, the fact that Twitter's attacking her right now makes sense. Like, are you kidding me? You're sitting here trying to be a role model for these people who identify as transgender, but yet you're running for a party that actively, does things to, I guess, not keep down transgender people, but limit their rights, I guess I should say. So, once again, you talk about the definition of going against your own morals and your own just beliefs, and you have Caitlyn Jenner here. Manny, I mean, maybe you can help me understand this. Do you think there's any chance she can win this thing?
Oh, there's always a chance anybody could win anything. I mean, the way they fix elections nowadays, it's possible.
True.
As far as all this, it cracks me up that everybody was pro Caitlyn until she said, I'm Republican. Then all of a sudden, it's anti Caitlyn.
But do you not necessarily understand it? Like, based on what we talked about?
At some point, there was the first Republican that was a black man.
True.
It's got to start somewhere. So, I mean, at some point, there was the first Democrat that was the black man.
Right. And I mean to be fair with Caitlyn, she may identify as a Republican in certain aspects, and then, like the rest of America, I think the majority of America kind of flip-flop on just based upon each issue where they stand. There's plenty of things I identify as a Republican still. And
one of the things that I picked up on was they said that the people are wanting a business person.
No, one of the candidates said that.
Okay. Which kind of made me think that maybe they were trying to signal Donald Trump, hey, come here.
Right.
I mean, what I also found interesting, though, is they said she actually talked to Donald. Unless I'm mistaken and misunderstood what they said.
Yeah. She used to be a big supporter of Donald
before she announced her run. So I'm wondering, is Donald going to step up and support her? I'm wondering if he's going to, what's the word I'm looking for? When they say they support him, what's it? Endorse. I'm wondering if Donald's going to come out and actually endorse, because that's going to be quite a flip from where he was as president. And I mean, I'm here for it, but that would be quite a jump for him.
I can't remember. Was Caitlyn on any of the Celebrity Apprentice shows?
Actually, I think she was as Bruce. I could be wrong, but I think she actually may have been.
Yeah. So that was
one of the later seasons.
Right.
And you may be right. That may be the connection we're looking at. Do you think that Trump would actually go as far as to support an openly transgender person for governor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he could do it. Whether he was wholehearted in doing it, I don't know. But I don't think he would have a problem getting up in front of the crowd and saying, "Hey, this is good."
Okay. So obviously, we're looking at a recall election there, and then actually, whoever wins this term is going to have to run again in 2022. That's not good for him. But we actually then also have our 2022 Arkansas race, and thus far we have Leslie Rutledge and Sarah Huckabee Sanders, as well as Davy Carter, that have announced in the Republican side. Then we have on the Democratic side a gentleman by the name of Anthony Bland, who's the public school teacher, James Russell, and a person whose name I can't pronounce. And then, of course, in the third party, we have Ricky Dale Harrington, who we interviewed in the last cycle as he was running, I believe, for what was he running for? Yeah, representative, and he's actually running against Dan, who we also interviewed. First off, I got to ask: do you think our buddy Ricky fares any better in this run?
I don't think he stands a chance against Sanders. To tell you the truth.
I mean, I'll tell you this much: Sanders has been quiet enough that it's smart. She doesn't get enough credit for how smartly she's running this campaign. She came out cannons blazing. Oh, I'm supporting Trump. Trump supports me. We're best friends. And since then, she's kind of letting people, make up their minds so far. I like where she's going thus far as from a strategic standpoint. And not to mention we're a red state. I think she has a very, very good opportunity if she doesn't step on a massive landmine to win the governor's mansion here in a year. What say you? I guess Manny. I forgot. I got to call.
You're still talking to me? I pretty much gave you my opinion. I don't think that. I think it's hers to lose.
What about you?
I would agree with Manny. I think if Huckabee is going to run, like you said, she's got the Trump thing going for her. Everybody loved her being, a kind of speaker person for Trump, right?
Yeah, she was the press secretary.
That's what I was trying to think of. She was the press secretary. So I think everybody, I mean, I don't think it's, I will put it this way. She does not have as much to prove to the voters as every other person listed on that ticket.
True. I will say though, and of course it's politics, so there's shady shit going on all the time. I'm still kind of interested in why Tim Griffin just suddenly decided he didn't want the job anymore when Sarah announced, and now he's running for, I think, Attorney General. So I mean, he's not only not running for the highest position, he's going to take a step down because he's our current lieutenant governor, and it seems like there may have been either a backroom deal struck or who knows what for Tim to get out of Sarah's way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Gotta love politics. So, speaking of politics, Democrats are pushing for D.C. statehood, and it actually just passed the House this past week, D.C. statehood. We actually had to talk about this in the group chat. And I remember somebody brought up, gerrymandering, and it's just the Democrats trying to swing the election in their favor. But I actually have thought about a comeback to that. So real quick, we'll watch this story from the Washington Post, and we'll be right back.
Statehood is also a matter of civil rights. The residents of the district have a right to self-governance and control over their lives and futures. And it's particularly meaningful that we passed this legislation just days after the anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln signing the District of Columbia Compensation Emancipation Act, freeing enslaved people in the district. Today, by passing H.R. 51 to admit the state of Washington Douglas Commonwealth to the Union, the House will finally address this unjust, unequal, and undemocratic situation.
D.C. statehood is a ridiculous idea which should have shocked our forefathers. It's a government city. No or minimal manufacturing, agriculture, or natural resources. With all its government jobs and universities, it's a recession-proof city and should be one of the easiest cities in the nation to govern.
Because the truth is, we will be voting for one thing, whether we are for taxation without representation or whether we are against taxation without representation. It's really that simple. And as for me, I will be voting with the patriots. I will be voting with those patriots from 1773 who confronted the government.
Addressing people's ability to vote is important. Addressing a party's desire for singular political control of a nation is another matter. Our Constitution outlines the process for admitting new states to the Union and rules regarding the formation of the District of Columbia.
So let's not get mired in these principled votes, because this is about 2 senators. We get it. It is not about principle, because there are over 700,000 people, 712 to be exact, maybe more when we get the census report, who are unequal citizens in America.
On this vote, the yeas are 216, the nays are 208. The bill is passed. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Okay, so it was interesting to hear some of the thoughts that they had there. Really, the only thing we're sitting here looking at, the only thing at stake that we have here is a seat in Congress and a seat in Senate. Because let's be honest, there's not enough to give them more than one seat in each. Their electoral votes aren't going to change, so presidentially, this is a non-issue. Where it comes down to is Congress. Do I necessarily hate the idea of having somebody sit in there from D.C.? No. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily that big of a deal to me. It is overwhelmingly Democratic, so yes, you can add one vote to the Democratic total in both chambers. I mean, as evenly divided as we are, it could sway something. But there's so many backroom deals and stuff that go into each bill that even without that one vote, I'm sure somebody could get something passed or denied without the one vote. So to me, this is really a non-issue. I don't see it as deep as taxation without representation. I don't see it. I just don't see it that deep. What about you, Matt Hawk?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I do understand the whole gerrymandering thing, and I feel that's probably where it's coming from, is, hey, we can get an extra vote this way and be sure. Because I think, I'll just throw it out there. The Democrats know, hey, wherever you stand on the line, they know that come 2024, whatever the next presidential election is, that the Republicans are going to be coming out in full force to take back power.
Absolutely.
So now they're going to reach for whatever straws they can to try and figure out how to stay in power, and this is the first straw they're reaching for there.
Yeah, this is something that happens anytime. No matter who's in power, somebody's going to try to, the party in power is going to try to manipulate the system to their advantage. It's how politics works. It is what it is.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Republican-controlled government right now, if they'd be doing the same thing. It's just one of those things of, okay, yeah, the Democrats did it, and let's whine and complain, but if the Republicans were doing it, they'd be whining and complaining about the Republicans.
Exactly. It's more of that hypocrisy we talk about. Manny, how do you feel about this? Like I said, it's a non-issue for me. It's a non-start for me. If they want to be a state, sure, cool. We'll have a one-city state.
And that's the problem I have with it.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to make yourself bigger than you really are. You're already the capital of the United States. Why do you need to be your own state?
Well, and I think it breaks down to they want a representative and they want somebody in the Senate. Because technically, I don't think they belong
part of Maryland.
Do they belong to Maryland? Like, do they get to vote in the Maryland state elections?
No.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they.
I'm saying their territory is in Maryland. So instead of making them their own state, make them a city of Maryland. Then you've got representatives you can vote for.
But see, then they would also have to. The problem with that is, I'm sure they would fight that they would have to give up their electoral votes.
But then let's look at this.
Whatever they have.
Let's say they do make it their own state. But then you have your state governors, your state legislators, your state executive, you're all the way up to your federal living all in that same state. So how is it to say then that, I can't just say, well, yeah, hey, my mayor said that I can't do this, but I'm going to go talk to the governor and get the governor to say I can't.
That's another question I have with this. This is kind of unprecedented. Are we going to have a mayor and a governor? Are we going to have a city government and a state government for one city? Like, it
And
gets
then
a little
eventually
interesting.
which levels have actual power to do things? Because I would think that if you have the president of the United States in the same state as a governor, then really the president's word is the word who really matters over anybody else.
And that's a bunch of salaries.
Good point.
Good
And that's like go ahead, say that.
That's a bunch of salaries that'll have to be shelled out for one city for all those.
Very true. And that's a good point. Taxes. No taxation without representation. Well, buddy, your taxes are going to go up pretty niftily.
Yeah, because
somebody has to pay their freaking $500,000 a year salary.
I was going to say, I don't want to have to pay the taxes on that presidential salary out of my paycheck.
I'm pretty happy that our governors and our state representatives are spread out between 1 million people here in Arkansas rather than just a couple 100,000 there in DC. So I mean, yeah, you're looking at paying a little bit to get statehood as well. Manny, any other thoughts?
I was trying to look up the residential areas of Washington, D.C.
And see, that's another thing. Are they going to break it down into districts, like D.C. into different districts? Like, how many districts can you get out of a single city?
I mean, the majority of it is business, government business.
Right.
So I really don't see them in making it its own state.
Like I said, I think the only thing we're looking at is we're arguing over 2 seats, one in the Senate, one in the House, because they're not going to give them more than one in each. There's no way. They're going to be the least populated state in the country. There's no point in giving them more than one each. And then actually, technically, I think their electoral votes may shrink at that point, because I think right now they have something like 8, but they would drop down to 2, I believe. Don't quote me on that, because I know that that's how they determine which electoral votes or what have you. But it just seems like a can of worms that doesn't need to be opened, honestly.
I guess I just got a notice on my phone. There's some type of big protest going on currently in North Carolina.
Really? Any idea what they're protesting?
I don't know. It just popped up on my police scanner. Said like 5,000 people were listening to Camden County, North Carolina.
Oh, damn. That's interesting. Wonder what happened. Okay, so this next one, I think we may end up having a little bit of disagreement on this one. Lindsey Graham went on Fox News Sunday this week and denied that there is any sort of systemic racism currently in America. And we have the story and the quote from Fox News Sunday.
Senator, is there systemic racism in this country in policing and in other institutions?
No, not in my opinion. We just elected a 2-term African-American president. The vice president is of African-American Indian descent. So our systems are not racist. America is not a racist country. Within every society, you have bad actors.
Would you like to explain to me, when the question presented to Lindsey Graham was, in our policing, is there a systemic problem of racism? He points to the former President Barack Obama, the current Vice President Kamala Harris. What does that have to do with policing? The question was about policing. Yes, I do believe, whether you believe that it's because they have more run-ins with police or what have you, there is a issue where, more African Americans and minorities in general are, meeting an untimely end due to run-ins with the law. Like I said, whether you believe it's because they have more run-ins with the law or what have you, I do believe that at a higher rate we do have a problem. Manny, we'll start with you.
What do you want to know?
What do you think about what Lindsay said, and especially the question? I think he avoided the question completely.
He basically said that he didn't think that there was systemic racism.
He said that there wasn't systemic racism in politics, basically. The question was about in policing.
Okay, you're asking me to comment about somebody's opinion. That's his opinion.
Where do
I'm not sure what you want from me, Mike.
Do you agree
you want
with
to know my views? No, I don't
you
think
agree with the
systemic
senator?
racism. We've talked about this. I don't think there's systemic racism at all. There are no laws that are applied to keep any race down. In fact, it seems like there are more laws and rules and things done to keep white people down.
Okay. Matt Hawk, how do you feel about the senator? Oh, Nessa. Okay, we'll go with Nessa. Nessa, how do you feel about the senator's comments, especially considering the question was about policing?
I think that he really just came on TV and said, like, oh, I'm a racist because they asked him about policing, and black people, and he goes, well, we got 2 black people in office. What else do you want?
I mean, touche. I wouldn't go as far as to call him a racist, but definitely he showed his heart a little bit there. Matt Hawk?
I would agree with Manic that there's not any specific laws to keep black people down, but is there systematic racism? I don't think with everything that's been coming out in the news lately, especially involving the police, that you can look at it and say there's definitely not any systematic racism.
Right.
I don't know. And again, that's on the same token, that doesn't mean that necessarily you can say it.
Right.
What I'm basically saying is that, yes, I agree. More minorities than white people seem to be reported on in the news and media as involved in shootings and stabbings and, questionable stuff by the police. Now, furthermore, does that mean that only minorities outside of white people are all that happens to? No, because I saw a video a month ago where cops were knocking on a guy's door who happened to be white. He was playing some video games, and one of his neighbors called the police thinking he was arguing with the police, and they shot him dead there right standing inside his door. We didn't hear that blown up all over the news and everything.
The kid.
I will say there definitely was, at least in our movement here in Central Arkansas, he was definitely mentioned a few times.
Right.
The 13-year-old that was shot and the kid that was shot in the mall were both white, but they're not all over the news.
So, again, that systematic racism could be biased based on the media.
But I also saw a Facebook post that someone posted that had the guy that shot up the Aurora Theater. It had the guy that did the hotel shooting out of the window, and it had the kid that was at the riots with his what was that?
Rittenhouse. Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah, him. And they said that what's the difference here? Like, they were all actively shooting people and armed and all that, and they're not dead.
That's a good point, and I've been meaning to bring that up, actually. That meme does bring up a good point. I just forget to always bring it up. But that is, Dylan Roof in South Carolina was taken to a Burger King after he massively killed many people in a church.
Right, but the black person trying to stab one person got 4 bullets in the chest.
Exactly. I do think that speaks to a problem. Manny, do you think that's just looking at the facts and tweaking them a certain way, or
that? Yeah, I do. I think it's people tweaking the facts that are out there. Bottom line is, how many of these people were placed in front of the same officer?
Right, absolutely. 0.
You take this gentleman who shot the knife wielding woman. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting her name.
Ma'Khia Bryant.
Ma'Khia. You take this officer that shot Ma'Khia. You put Roof in front of him as Roof is doing whatever he's doing. I'm willing to say Roof is dead.
That's a good damn point.
I believe that cop takes the same action regardless of if it's a white person or a black person or a male or a female.
And that is the definition
For
of
that
a cop.
person, it doesn't matter.
That's definitely a good point that people, who share that don't, even I hadn't even considered that thought of, well, we're talking about 12 different cops in 12 different scenarios. It's a good point.
Right.
And as with any establishment that employs people, but especially police and law enforcement, you get, a few bad apples con their way through the screening and through, all that and make it in. But for the majority of it, they're normally, the majority of them.
I need my ice cream first, then I'll go to bed.
Okay, go eat your ice cream.
But the majority of the ones that get through and stay for a long time are good ones.
Absolutely, I would agree. I would absolutely agree. Do I think that, I remember Sean once told me there's no such thing as a good cop because if there were good cops, they'd report the bad cops. I don't buy into that theory by any stretch of the imagination. Unfortunately, the society we live in, there was such thing. Hopefully it's gone now that we've had this Chauvin verdict, but there was such thing as, retaliatory tactics within the police force. If you told on another police officer, you pretty much ruined your career. Hopefully that's gone now. And, but I think that there are good cops in this world.
But to get back onto the topic, while I believe there used to be systemic racism with the redlining and stuff that they used to do, there are laws against that now. Now, does it still happen? I'm sure it does. But those are those specific branches that are doing that stuff. Just like it's specific police officers that are choosing what to do whenever the driver is black versus when the driver is white.
Absolutely.
So I don't see that it's the system that is against race. It's individuals who have a position that are against the race.
I could definitely see. I could definitely see that. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on this topic before we move on, Matt Hawk, Nessa, Manny?
I think that there is systematic racism, but I think that it's fed by the system.
Explain a little bit better for me. I'm a little dumb.
But keep in mind that racism includes people that don't like white people.
Right, absolutely.
So it is easier for a minority to get welfare than it is for white people. They get more scholarships than white people do. I don't know. I guess that's only a couple things that I can come up with, but
no, you make a good point. And I will say that I do believe the memes on Facebook, for example, that say, that the system's job is to keep us hating each other. The system, I do believe, fears African Americans, white people, Hispanics from actually coming together and just loving each other.
And because if all the citizens of a country, it doesn't even have to be the United States, if they all united and none of them hated each other, then it would be more likely for them to revolt against the government.
True. You couldn't distract people.
Exactly. That is what, in my opinion, that is what all this racism talk and all this policing talk and all that is going through the news is a distraction tactic.
True. Mad Hawk, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that, I would agree with that because really it is, and like she was saying, like really it is fed by the system because as I think about it, like, I don't get free college for, a quarter of myself being white as, hey, if you got, what is it, like at least an eighth of Indian in you, like you can go to college for free. Again, it's just, I don't know if there's any special, for underprivileged kids and, kids that grew up in the projects and things, there's certain scholarships for them. There's certain scholarships out there for single women. I have yet to ever see the scholarship when I was a single dad and wanting to go back to college for the single white dad free college program.
True. True. Manny, what do you think? Do you think maybe it's the system that is making the racism and making us despise each other, so to speak?
Yeah, I could see that totally. But well, I say I could see that to a point. I can see that. Again, I don't feel it's the system. I feel it's the people in the system.
Okay.
Because there are no rules that say, okay, if it's a white person, we can only hold them to this.
Well, and I would agree with him on that. It's not the system, it's the people within the system. But unfortunately, those people that are within the system are the ones that make the system.
Yeah, they control the system. It does seem that way. Okay, guys, we'll move on. President Biden's first 100 days, I believe, in this Thursday. So we actually have a story from CNBC television on his first 100 days, and I also shared a story in the group about Pennsylvania voters in specific. So we'll talk about that as well.
There are a lot of irons in the fire right now, hypothetically, for the Biden administration. What exactly will the priorities be for the current administration going for the next few months?
So I think it's pretty clear that green infrastructure just is front and center. There's a lot of discussion within the party about how you fund it, and that's going to be crucial for representatives like particularly Joe Manchin. We always talk about him on this show. His role as this kind of centrist who's very keen that they don't do another huge fiscal bill that's not unfunded. So I think that's where the debate is going to be in the party, is how much of it do you fund and how do you fund it? But I think that the point that has just come across there is that there's a tendency for investors to see bills as kind of good or bad, when the reality is, if you've got a big infrastructure bill that has lots of positives in it, that's partially offset by taxes, it does become a who are the winners and who are the losers conversation, rather than necessarily a kind of outright, well, increases in taxes are bad for business in general. I think it's much more nuanced than that, particularly if you care about long-term potential growth, which we know lots of investors do.
Stephanie, the one word that I hear all the time when we talk about elections and then inaugurations is infrastructure. I've heard it for decades now at this point. How likely is it that an infrastructure deal actually gets done? They always talk about it being bipartisan, yet it never, ever seems to get any kind of traction.
So I think it's really likely that an infrastructure bill gets done, a green infrastructure bill specifically. It's very clear that it's the green element of this that's really supercharging support in the Democratic Party. But as you said, will it be bipartisan? I struggle to see a lot of Republicans getting on board with a bill that requires tax hikes as a part of a funding package, which I think is likely, right? To get the Joe Manchins on board, you need tax hikes. And then if you have tax hikes, Republicans are less likely to get on board. So I think what we learned from the COVID-19 support bill that's been passed already is that the Biden administration recognizes that this is its chance to get things done, because come 2022 and those midterm elections, they'll probably lose the House and then they can't do anything. And I think that's really what's driving support and what's driving the approach. So I'm kind of factoring in that this is likely to happen. The bigger question is just how big is the bill and how is it funded?
We've talked about this notion of investors looking towards infrastructure plays. It happens every time there's an election cycle. People look at construction aggregates. They look at steel manufacturers. We did it in the beginning stages of Trump's presidency. We are doing it right now for Biden's presidency. We've done it in the past for Obama's as well. What exactly then can you expect to see from a corporate standpoint as to the companies that really stand to benefit if we do see some kind of an infrastructure push?
So I think what's really interesting with this bill versus previous is around, as I said, the kind of green element of it, because it slightly opens up opportunities, particularly for those materials providers who are important not only to kind of traditional infrastructural work, but also that kind of green infrastructure packaging and building renewable energy, manufacturing and things like that. We know that they want to weatherize lots of buildings. So in some ways, it's quite traditional, but I think it's the green element that opens up a lot of opportunities, which is quite consistent with what investors are increasingly asking for, which is opportunities to contribute to the just transition, to, tackling climate change. This might provide both of those things.
And before we let you go, tax policy is going to be a huge focus for many investors in the coming months as we talk about this notion that we have to pay for a lot of these initiatives. If there is a tax hike, and if it happens for some of the wealthier Americans and corporations out there, how likely is it will have a significant impact on the U.S. economy?
So I think this is where it's really important to bear in mind that a tax hike would be used to fund quite a significant stimulus, especially for long-term potential growth. This is what I was talking about earlier with there's nuance here. I think the reality as well is that different companies pay different effective corporate tax rates, right? So that's really important as well. So just because the rate says 28% doesn't mean that every single company ends up paying 28%. And again, I think that's where the differentiation will come in. We know as things stand that there are companies paying much, much less than the existing rate. And I think that will continue to be the case. The question is just how much does the change impact the bottom line? And that's where you need to get into things like not just what is the company doing, what can it do in terms of its tax rates, but also what's its profit margin, and will it benefit from the opportunities that get pushed through by this big infrastructure bill?
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.
So let's kind of talk about this a little bit. The first thing I want to point to is the story I shared in the American Idiots group chat about the Pennsylvania voters who are relatively pleased. And it seems like a wave along the country, relatively pleased with President Biden's first 100 days in office. It seems like really what they're focusing on is what he has done with COVID. And they're not really looking at much else. So my thing is, number one, why? So don't get me wrong, COVID is a big issue. But this presidential election is hinged on so many different key issues that why are we just judging his first 100 days off of one thing, one issue that he's handling? So my question to you is, what would you give him as far as a grade on his first 100 days? I would say a C. I would say the guy has done well on COVID. He's done terrible on getting anything else done. And we'll go with you, Matt Hawk.
Unknown. I can't give him a grade. I haven't heard the dude come out and give me a State of the Union yet.
True.
Yet. And, I mean, really, like you were talking about the COVID thing. Well, back when Trump first got elected, everybody was saying, well, you can't blame Obama for everything that Trump's inherited. It's not Obama's fault that Trump, this is Trump's time to be president, not Obama. So how can we really say, sorry, I heard a weird phone ringing or something in the studio here. What I was getting at is how can we now turn around and say that Biden did all this COVID stuff? Trump had this train rolling before Biden took over office. And again, I'm still sticking with, Biden may be the one listed as the president or told that he's the president. I still don't think Biden is the president.
Okay. Manny, we'll go with you. What kind of letter grade would you give the president in his first 100 days?
F.
F? Okay.
F.
Why?
The same reasons that Rich is talking about. He has not addressed this nation. He has not really, the same thing you were talking about. He has not really accomplished a lot. He wants to talk a whole bunch about COVID. And like you said, that's pretty much it. He has done nothing to bring Democrats and Republicans to get bipartisan stuff together, despite the fact he said that he don't see red and he don't see blue. He sees Americans. Yet shortly after being elected, he said that he don't care if the Republicans are with him or not. They've got the votes to do it with just Democrats. So no. He has gone back on his decision to make it fully open borders. So you're breaking campaign promises there. He hasn't really done anything with China. In fact, he has backpedaled by saying we're going to send ships to the Black Sea, and then, oh no, never mind, we're not going to do that. He hasn't really done anything with Russia that I've seen. About the only positive is he is continuing what Trump did with the troop withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Right. Okay.
So while I can say he continued what Trump did, you really can't give him a full credit for just following what somebody else had already started.
Very true. Very true.
Kind
Nessa,
of think
where
his
are you?
presidency's following his whole entire time in government altogether. He's never really done anything. Why do we expect anything different?
Good point. Good point. Nessa, where are you? What grade would you give President Biden on his first 100 days?
I'm with Manny on this one.
You're gonna stick with an F?
Yeah.
Man, he's doing terrible.
I've seen gas prices go up. I've seen people that won't work because unemployment is paying more. I've seen the border wall construction stop. I've seen crisis at the border. I've seen there was one other thing that was really important.
And I'm keep thinking on that, but I'm going to agree with her on that. Like, I am now with a new company, a new taxi company that has just started, and we have gone, thankfully, gangbusters. It's taken off great, which is awesome for business and awesome for everybody involved. Go ahead.
And we're now on the brink of war with two countries who have been our closest allies for hundreds of years, or however long.
But driving around Hot Springs here, and even ourselves, like, I see for hiring signs everywhere, and ourselves, like, we are in such need of employees, and we're throwing ads out there and getting maybe 2 or 3 people saying, hey, yeah, I'd like a job. Whereas a few years ago, I remember going applying at a job, and you were one of 50 to 500 applicants.
Very true. Very true. Well, damn.
And that's because more people have found that, it pays more to be lazy and sit at home than work a job.
Okay, I wouldn't necessarily disagree.
The money that went to whatever country that was for gender studies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was special to say the least. Okay.
So I guess that makes me wondering how you gave him such a high grade with your C.
I think he did well on COVID. We're talking what? Hold on. I'm gonna name something that has actually happened since his administration. We're talking 200 million people that have been vaccinated. We're talking about seeing an end to mask mandates countrywide.
How many people?
We're talking about every goal he has set, he's seeming to not only meet but I can't give him a higher grade because that's all he's
20%.
All right, you mentioned 3 things.
Is it?
Okay. 2 of those things are based on the first one you said. The vaccines rolling out made people feel more comfortable, so they dropped the mask mandate. And what was the third thing you said?
Shit, I don't remember, Manny. Don't make me try to remember shit I say.
So we can attribute those to the vaccine calming people down, but the vaccine was started by Trump, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, you're right.
So again,
is it not Biden's job to make Americans comfortable enough to go get the vaccine?
But here's the deal. Here's the deal. You're putting that on Biden's plate. That was in motion and would have continued in motion regardless who was in that spot.
Would it?
Oh, you think Johnson & Johnson is going to be like, oh, well, Trump's staying president, we're going to go ahead and shut down and stuff?
No. I'm saying the vaccine would have rolled out. What I'm saying is, would there have been as big a push to, hey, guys, go get your vaccine? Under a Trump administration, would there have been as big a push to say, hey, guys, go get your vaccine? Coronavirus is real. We need to take this seriously. Or would it have been more of the same from Trump?
And you say more of the same, but Trump was the one that was really pushing these companies to come up with a vaccine.
He was. I would agree. But I'm saying, would he have pushed us to go get the vaccine? Would he have, done these things to make people feel more comfortable with the vaccine? Would he have done these things to make people realize that this, COVID is real? COVID is a problem and it needs to be addressed. Or would he have continued his same rhetoric? That's why I give Biden a pass on.
I I think he would because once he got COVID, he did start acting differently about
He did
COVID.
start acting a little differently. I'll give you that. I will acquiesce on that one. And it would have been interesting to see how, post-election and post-inauguration, how he would have continued as far as COVID goes. I'm pretty sure we know how it would have continued on every other issue.
Here is, I was just looking up here. This is from PolitiFact, and actually, if you want, I can send you but it's basically the Biden promise tracker. And so far, breaking it down, out of all of his promises, it says he has kept 9% of them, 1% he's compromised on, he hasn't broken any of them. 2% of them are stalled, and 25% of them are in the works.
I would be saying 25% seems a little high. Honestly, literally,
so
COVID is
if we were going to look at
thing
the
I can
things
say
that
he's
he
actually
has
worked on.
completed already, the promises that he's completed already, he has created a bipartisan commission to consider reforms to the Supreme Court. He's gotten 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots.
Hold on.
For 50 million
We'll take them one by one. Off that
hold
first
on,
one,
yeah. I don't remember
off that first one. I'm going to say, of course, he pushed to get that because that helps Democrats more than it does Republicans.
True.
I mean, bottom line, why would they look at reforming the whatchamacallit?
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court. What is the only other reason to do that?
I agree.
True. Very good point.
I would agree.
And they've made claims that they would like to. They've been very blatant about the fact that they would like to stack the court.
Yeah.
So then we move on to the next one. His next promise that he's fulfilled is 100 million COVID-19 vaccine shots for 50 million people in 100 days. And
So
it says that he did that 58 days in.
Toss that one for me in the COVID bucket. We already gave him credit for sticking to COVID.
All right. He gave small businesses a restart package for pandemic-related openings.
Do we toss that one in the COVID packet?
Also.
Yeah, I guess we would toss that one in the COVID packet as well.
Help state and local governments prevent budget shortfalls. That was part of the American Rescue Plan from COVID.
So still the COVID bucket.
Yeah.
He's reversed family separation policies. He fulfilled his promise to end the Trump policy that led to family separations. That happened January 27th. Do we need to really discuss that? He reversed.
Is that immigration? That's
immigration.
immigration.
That's immigration, but aren't we talking about the Texas facility that is overran with minors now?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know necessarily that I would give him that one.
I mean, they're saying that he fulfilled his promise to end the policy. So, I would agree. He reversed the transgender military ban, just signed an executive order banning discrimination against transgenders in the military. Okay.
I mean, and that one I don't necessarily look at as a big deal, just because it's something that shouldn't have been a deal in the first place, in my opinion.
Right. Basically, he wrote a note that said Trump's note wasn't any good anymore.
Yeah.
Right. He rejoined the World Health Organization.
Which was a mistake, in my opinion.
Right. He immediately rescinded the Muslim bans from Trump's travel ban.
I don't necessarily hate that. That's something that, once again, though, I would say throw that in the it should have never happened to begin with.
And see, and I don't particularly care for that one because it wasn't about Muslims. It was about places that harbored terrorists that were coming over here. So I hate that they call it the Muslim ban.
Muslim travel ban. Yeah.
They want to make sure that it sounds racist.
Well, I mean, yeah, of course. Any Democratic person's going to make the Republican policy sound as bad as possible and highlight, kind of like we called the Affordable Health Care Act Obamacare.
Right. And then he restored the White House Directorate for Global Health Security.
COVID, I would assume. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't even know what the hell that is. So COVID.
I don't know either. Yeah, well, here, let me look it up. I can click here and see what was.
So, I mean, once again, 90% of these promises he's kept are all COVID.
Yeah. Yeah, all it is basically just he made some changes to things that they talked about with addressing global health security with COVID.
I'll say this, that C is rapidly declining because as much as I say that, hey, focus on one thing at a time and you're going to do the one thing the best you can, but you're the president. You've got constantly a million new things sitting on your desk every single day. You can't have a singular focus as the president of the United States.
And that's the reason you have a cabinet also, so that they can you delegate the authority.
True.
To have other people do other things.
True. I mean, let's be honest. Minus actually going out and making public appearances, I really have been hesitant to knock her, but what has Kamala done?
Yeah, she's supposed to be the one that's over this whole border crisis.
True.
And she has yet to go to the border.
True.
How are you going to fix anything if you won't even go and see what's going on? Maybe that should be my American Idiot of the Week.
Well, definitely, I can see y'all's lower grades. I think that what he did well, but at the same time, what he did, he also spent a ton of money.
That's kind of like saying, hey, I tossed the ball to you at the 2-yard line for the touchdown. And you ran it in for the touchdown. Like, hey, you ran 2 yards real good. Good job. I did the other 98.
Good point. Good point. I can't necessarily hate on that. And speaking of which, next up we have the U.S. is considering sending virus aid to India. This is really and the reason why I included it, it's a complete flip from Trump era policies where, America was first on everything. And then, hey, if we have leftovers, we'll hook you up. So we have this story from CNBC television.
COVID spreads around the world, of course, the more the virus can mutate. And health experts warn if other countries don't get cases under control, our progress here at home will be threatened. So that's why tonight we're drawing your attention to a dire situation in the world's second most populated country, India. New daily cases have now topped 200,000 for a week straight. That's from India's health ministry. The Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, says the wave of cases is hitting like a storm, and it's pushing deaths to an all-time high. Hospitals across India are overwhelmed, many running dangerously low on supplies, including oxygen. Johns Hopkins reports India has the second most COVID cases in all the world, trailing only the United States. Reporting from inside a hospital in Mumbai, here's our sister network Sky News' Nivelle Lazarus.
India is in the grip of a second wave, a deadlier and fast-spreading one this time around. Young and old, the virus has spared no one. Taking a breath is a struggle. And doctors constantly monitoring every patient. Many just lifeless because of the disease. The Bandra Kurla Complex COVID Center, with over 2,200 beds, is one of the largest facilities for COVID-19 patients. Sky News was given exclusive access. It was set up last year as Mumbai, India's commercial capital, was ravaged by the virus. A year later, a repeat. The city and state is reeling once again with record numbers. The facility is almost full.
In the country, I can vaguely tell you that in last few days or few weeks, there is an upsurge of number of COVID patients, which is labeled as a second wave. We can say the second wave has more virulence than the first wave, but certainly death rate is not that much.
In Ahmedabad, patients attached to oxygen cylinders wait their turn in ambulances parked outside. Hospital beds, ventilators, and even medicines have run short. Family members wait for a refill of oxygen cylinders. That is in short supply even in the national capital, Delhi. As the country struggles to deal with the pandemic in larger cities, the fear is for the poor and vulnerable in rural India, where health facilities are inadequate or almost non-existent.
For the news, I'm Neville Lazarus.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching.
Daggone Shepard Smith, I need you to shut up. You've been on here more than I have. Anyway, with that being said, so I'll say this much. The U.S. seems to have turned a corner on virus aid. At this point, India seems to be getting ravaged right now by COVID-19. From what I understand, they're surpassing millions of cases per day. I don't hate the idea of sending them some extra supplies because, I mean, let's be honest. If 1 million people a day tested positive for COVID, our hospitals would be more than overrun. You know what I mean? So they need the assistance. So, I mean, I don't necessarily hate the idea that he's flip-flopping on this. What about you, Matt Huck and Nessa?
I mean, well, I guess one that explains why I haven't gotten so many calls lately about extending my car's warranty. I've been wondering what happened to this.
You're terrible.
No, like, again, if it was over here, then, you know, if that was going on over here, then of course we'd be asking for help. All of our hospitals would be overrun. They were, and we were asking for help. But then on the other hand, why is it always our problem to go help other countries? And really talking about it, like, we're still, you know, people act like we've got this thing figured out. We don't. We're still in the early stages of even trying to figure out a vaccine.
True.
Why is it our job to now go take what we've learned so far and supply these people with it? You know, I think that we still need to focus on ourselves before we start worrying about getting into other people's stuff too.
Okay,
and if this is a second upturn in it, we need to take what we can do to learn so that we can curb the second uptake in our own country.
Yeah, because if we give away all of our medicine and supplies, then when the second wave hits us, we're going to be shit out of luck.
Right.
Good point. Good point.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that India is the most populous country in the world.
Yeah. By far.
So that's natural selection.
I mean, touche, but damn. You and Darwin. You and Darwin on me.
Looks like Manic is searching something up here.
Yeah, Manny's over here going to hit us with some statistics.
Yeah.
Did you know
They were
that
talking
India
about-
has 87.2 people per square mile?
They were saying that the greatest need is for the poor and needy or something.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, what about our poor and needy? Like, no one has said anything about the homeless people on the streets catching COVID and dying because, you know.
Right.
Not even just homeless people, but poor people who can't afford to go to the doctor. And it's amazing how many times I see people like talking about, well, I can't afford to go to the doctor. I can't afford to, you know. And I think that's crazy for us to even consider helping other countries with medical needs when we have that issue.
Good point. Good point. Manny, how do you feel about
That's basically my point right there. I believe they said that India was second.
Yeah.
To the U.S.
Second to the U.S. in what?
U.S. With problems, cases.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So that means we got more cases than they do. Don't we need to keep our help here?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me see. That's a good point.
That's what they said in that news report. They said that they are second to the U.S. in active cases of COVID.
Second in the world behind the U.S.
Oh,
is what
okay.
they said.
Bear with me while I Google.
Yeah, no problem. But still, either way you look at it, I mean, he's exactly right. Whether it's second in the world,
no,
whatever, they are saying the U.S. has more cases than India does.
That legitimately mind boggles me, just because the U.S. shouldn't be in my thoughts anywhere close to anywhere close to the top of this, especially not anywhere close to India, whose population is massively larger than the U.S.
So it just makes you wonder what the truth is.
Right. And actually, I couldn't find an accurate number. All I could find was the U.S. and Africa's numbers.
I really looked at it that
randomly.
So the other thing I look at is, like Vanessa was saying, we have homeless, we have hungry, we have veterans that don't have places to go. Instead of sending that money over there to worry about another country, maybe we should worry about all the issues we have in our country first.
Exactly, because it's not going to be supplies and stuff that we're sending over there. It's going to be billions of dollars.
Good point.
If I can't afford to bring food into my house,
write this down.
Why would I loan my neighbor money?
Touche.
All right, so currently there are 17.3 million cases of COVID in India.
Okay.
So
I would
let's take
think
that
we would
number.
have that many in America. I could be wrong.
17.3 million to, let's see, I'm scrolling down. Where's the U.S. in here? U comes after T, right? There we go.
Right.
United States. We'll pull it up here. Well, hang on. This computer is slow. You know how it works. So we're at 17.3 million, and the U.S. is at, I think here, we'll just do it this way. So 17.3. We'll say current COVID cases in the U.S. See if it brings it up here. Sorry, y'all, my internet, we got a deal. We are at 32.1 million total cases.
Almost double.
Are you serious?
So we are almost double, and they're asking us to help them.
Now, how many people live there versus the 5 million that live in the U.S.?
Population of India?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Do we really have 32 million active cases? I thought we were much lower than that. Maybe Arkansas is kind of throwing me for a loop.
They have about 7 times our population.
Easily.
The population is 1.366 billion in India as of 2019.
And there's 5 million in the U.S.
Yeah. Right.
So
5 million?
the percentage rate of how much of their population versus ours is not even comparable.
Yeah, plus they're stacked on top of each other. Social distancing isn't a thing in India. It can't be a thing in India. That's crazy to me. Wow. Okay, maybe we're in a little bit more trouble than what I thought. Good point. Touche. I thought we had rounded a corner. Okay, y'all. So it's time for the American Idiot of the Week. I'm going to have to go ahead and go with I'll go with congressional Democrats pushing for D.C. statehood. Once again, it's a non-issue for me. There's so much more you need to be doing than pushing something as trivial as D.C. statehood. Get your act together. Manny?
Which one you want to go with, Waters or Harris? I mean,
wait, hold on. What's the run on Harris? I see Maxine. I understand why Maxine is, but what's the run on Harris?
What were we talking about earlier? Trying to make me remember what I said.
Are you talking about when we were talking about the first 100 days and how she hasn't done anything?
No. Yeah. How she hadn't been over to the border.
Okay.
I was just reading an article earlier that she didn't plan to go to the border until June.
Yeah. So how are you going to take care of a problem? So there's 2 of them right there.
Okay. Mad Hawk?
You know what? I'm gonna say my American Idiot of the Week is the people who said that we should be sending help over to India, knowing that we have double the amount of cases in the U.S. It just seems stupid to me.
So again, Joseph R. Biden.
I mean, hey, I figured I'd come up. I would just leave the name out this week, you know.
I mean, Nessa, we should just start calling this the Joe Biden Award. Nessa, who's your American Idiot of the Week?
I'm going with Derek Chauvin this week because they made a complete fool of him on that stand. He didn't even have the guts to get up there and defend himself. And when he was being sentenced, the look on his face, I could just replay that over and over and over and watch it.
My dude had the balls to look confused. Like he's like,
oh, they found me guilty. What?
Guilty? What is this?
Yeah.
I saw a meme on Facebook. It said, when your white privilege card declines.
I saw one that said, oh, they found me guilty.
Oh, man. If anyone deserves to be memed, it's Derek Chauvin for sure. Oh, Lord. Well, guys, that pretty much wraps us up for the night. Is there anything else y'all wanted to address before we get out of here?
That's
I think we're good, yo.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go eat some pork chops, so y'all be good. Have a safe week, and we'll see you next Monday night.
All right, later, y'all.
See y'all.
That I welcome this kind of examination because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Don't wanna be an American idiot.
We can make our beloved country the source of all the dreams and the opportunities that she was missing.